On this episode of Playlog, we're talking about how Stardew Valley will never charge for an update, what animals we'd like to be in a video game, and hosting our very first book club meeting, we review Night in the Woods in 2024. Wait, we're live? Like a live stream? No, yeah, that's it. We're live right over on twitch.tv/CGDannyB. But anyway, hey guys, CGDannyB back again with another episode of Playlog, the podcast where we talk all things indie gaming. And of course, I can't talk indie games alone because that'd be boring. So I've got my partner in crime, the doc maker themselves, the Play Nice Kid themselves, the enjoying their vacation, having a good time playing games. It's Tofr. Tofr, what's popping today?
Hey. I'm doing fine. Well, sort of. Fine.
Yeah. We talked a little bit and I ramped through. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what we talked about before. What am I saying?
No, I'm struggling a little bit mental health wise. But it's fine. I'm working on it. We're going to get there.
Hell yeah. Always doing better. Real quick, as I saw my chat. Dang it, I can't know him. That's right, Dark Knight, because this is a live recording of Playlog podcast being recorded on twitch.tv/CGDannyB. We don't do these on a regular basis. We just kind of figure out when we will. So I turned off all the sound alerts because I love to be able to talk about this heartfelt game without hearing whoo, 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 ka-chow, and all that other stuff on the screen. So I apologize you can't do the things. Maybe next time, when we stream on Monday, Thursday, or Saturday on twitch.tv/CGDannyB. However, this week, I want to remind you guys that over on youtube.com/CGDannyB, I just dropped my review for a Ranger, a role puzzling adventure, and because of embargoes and we're live, I can't say what the other review is, but there should be another review if I have enough hours in the night to get that done. So just do the damn thing. We're good. Anyway, go over to YouTube and watch those reviews, like, comment, subscribe. Now, as we typically do, it's time to break the ice. Remember, you can write into the show and ask your questions about gaming, content creation, life, etc. And we'll read it right here on the show, just like our beloved mod Phantom Composer did. Phantom writes in and asks, if you could be a species of animal in Night in the Woods, what would you be? And what would be your role in the town? I don't know if this means like we have to pick a race that exists in Night in the Woods and be like, I'm also a crocodile. I'm also a cat. I'm also this. But like, there's some owls in here. There's some owls in this neighborhood. Not super important owls, but I like a good owl. So I think I'm picking an owl. What am I doing? I don't know. I might be like we'll get into the story later. I might be like a Casey type character, but hopefully I last longer. You know what I'm saying? Oh, wow. I might just be a guy just living my dreams, doing my thing by the day, living the life. But how about you?
It wasn't easy to think of something, but I figured it out. I'd be a sloth.
Okay.
That's just how I roll in real life. And I would work at the video rental store because I used to do that in real life.
Okay.
And it was such a cushy job.
Hell yeah. I see it, right? Angus kind of got it going though. Angus is just like, boyfriend's at home. I go to the video store. People only ever come in to buy porn. That's cool, I guess. We vibe with it. I vibe with it. Guys, let us know if you could be any animal in the small town of Possum... what is it? Possum what? Springs. I'm going to go Possum Valley. I'm like, I forgot the place is called. I wrote it down. I don't remember. But, yeah, if you want to be an animal in town, let us know which animal you would be. I'm assuming Agent Llama going with the Hoot Hoot. Also an owl. Real one. But, timestamp. Before we get rolling into the topic of the show, the big meat of this girthy episode. I don't know if I like the word girthy, but it's already out there. I can't take it back. We have one quick indie news article for us today. Concerned Ape, the developer behind Stardew Valley, will never charge money for updates. This article comes from Ed Nightingale over at Eurogamer. Stardew Valley creator Eric Concerned Ape Barron has said he'll never charge money for DLC or updates for as long as I live. Earlier today, the developer posted on a social media site X to say console and mobile ports for Stardew Valley's 1.6 update are still in progress, following the PC release date in March. Quote, the ports and next PC update are still in progress, said Barron. I know it's taking a long time. It's on my mind every minute. I have personally been working on the mobile port every day. I will announce when there's anything meaningful news, i.e. a release date, hoping you're having a good summer. Skipping forward a little bit, there was a reply in this tweet that said, as long as everything you add is completely free with a bunch of new content, quality of life, etc., people won't complain for the wait. Thanks for your dedicated love for this game. Then Concerned Ape responds, I swear on the honor of my family name, I will never charge money for a DLC or update as long as I live. Screen cap this and shame me if I ever violate this oath. That's pretty great. We like a good free DLC type of game. Always getting more content. I'm on the outside of Stardew, where I don't know how often there's updates. I'm assuming 1.6, there's been at least 0.5 other updates here before this. It was a weird one for me to read, right? Because I feel like that almost went without being said. I don't think I've ever heard someone say pay for Stardew DLC. So I don't know, maybe like just mean anything more to you, like any kind of reassurance or.
I think it's mostly a slow week night, a slow news week, and they had to find something. So they found this tweet that said, "I'm never going to charge for it," and this tweet is proof, and that's a news article.
Fair enough. It's always. I was gonna say it's always weird, but like sometimes you think like some of the big AAA games that keep themselves alive with battle passes and everything else, and then expansion packs, and like those are charged. Anything like Elden Ring being $40 for an extra expansion, and then indie games having to put all this extra effort and time into keeping their game alive with extra content. I'm thinking like Dredge next month we get the new DLC, the Iron Rig, but then Stardew Valley being like we don't charge for expansions. Sorry, I should have finished my sentence though. But Dredge does charge those expansions, shorter kind of meatier DLC, new areas, etc. But Stardew, I see them being in the spot of just like, we make the content, we put it out, and if that means new people are buying the game and they just get all this extra content with it, awesome, great, dope. Again, I've never been like super invested in Stardew Valley, but I love seeing it get more content. I love seeing people be able to just update the game and play some new stuff, so that's always good.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering if Concerned Ape will ever get round to finishing the Haunted Chocolatier.
Listen, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm like, I might have missed the train on Stardew, but I'm like, I'm ready to try Haunted Chocolatier. We're going to do a whole stream with it. I'll buy a bunch of sugar-free chocolate or something. I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to figure something out. But we're going to have a stream where we eat some chocolate and play some chocolate games.
Nice.
Yeah. But
I can send you Belgian chocolates.
Listen, let me know. Shoot it this way. Put it in one of those like little refrigerator packages so it doesn't get all melted in the warehouse and shit. Yeah. Make a day of it. But timestamp. That's the quick indie news, everybody. Now, I guess we move on to the topic of the show, our Night in the Woods review in 2024. For some context, since we started the podcast, we talked about doing book clubs, whether that's playing old games we hadn't finished, getting together and starting like a new game that just came out. But it seems like most of the cases are going to be going back and either replaying or playing for the first time older games, like, with my Wheel of Shame type deal. And for the first one, Tofr suggested we did Night in the Woods, which your favorite indie game? If we gave it the crown. One of okay. Them, yeah. Cool. So one of Tofr's favorite indie games, and then a game that I've not played, and it's just been like sitting in my backlog for so long. Like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's get it done. And it was a feeling filled month. It's been a busy one. Before we get into that, do you want to do the content warning that we have here in the doc?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. First of all, there's a content warning for like heavy themes in the game itself. There's talk of mental health situations, abuse, and stuff like that. But I also have to give a warning because there was some real life drama behind the game. Before recommending this game as our first book club game, I had put that drama behind it to the back of my mind. I do believe, however, that it's important to acknowledge what happened here before we dive into the game itself. The game's composer, Alek Holovka, I think that's how you pronounce it, was accused of physical and emotional abuse by game designer and writer Zoe Quinn. In response to these accusations, and after having been kicked from the Infinite Fall team by co-founders Scott Benson and Bethany Hockenberry, Alek went through a big crisis and ended up taking his own life. We would like to remind you that we do not condone any attempt to contact anyone related to Alek or anyone else involved in this. Zoe Quinn has been the subject of more abuse because of her so-called role in Alek's death, which is something she does not deserve either, as Alek himself alluded to before taking his life. Also, if you are thinking of taking your own life, there are channels that you can use to get help.
Yes, absolutely. This was something you mentioned. I had no idea about any of this context prior to picking this game to play for this month. And you had mentioned you thought it was a very important thing to mention. And yeah, both in out of context, not to seem like we're ignorant to anything behind the scenes, but also just to, heads up, important things to note. There are some deep themes in this game, and then there's some deep themes behind the people making it. So just important things to note as we go in. There's some heavy stuff. So just be safe, be comfortable out there, and be good to each other. It's important.
Yeah.
But don't worry, it's not going to get a lot cheerier yet, so hang with me. But in case you have no idea what this game is, or you're just popping in for the first time and you want to know what is Night in the Woods, Night in the Woods is a story-rich adventure game developed by Infinite Fall, a team featuring Alec, how did you say it? Haloka? Halovka? I'm going to butcher that the rest of the time. I apologize to everybody involved. Scott Benson and Bethany Hockenberry. The game released back in 2017 for Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox, and then on Nintendo Switch in 2018 and iOS in 2021. However, prior to the game's release, we had The Longest Night, which is a Night in the Woods story released back in 2013, and then The Lost Constellations in 2014, which you can play both of those for free over on itch.io. Night in the Woods announced their Kickstarter back in October of 2013 with a funding goal of $50,000, and they crushed that goal in the first 26 hours, eventually reaching a crowdfunding of over $200,000. The game was loved by audiences, currently sitting at a Metacritic score of 88 for PC. I think going between, it was like 88 with the highest, and I think 75 is the Xbox score. I didn't look too much in the difference, but even 75 is, I think, is still in the green, so we take that. Good numbers. Let me see. Metacritic. Back in May of 2023, following the previously mentioned story that Tofr just read for us, the team announced their next game, Revenant Hill, under the new studio named The Glory Society. However, in November of 2023, Scott Benson was diagnosed with severe heart failure, making it extremely difficult to work on the new game. So they made the difficult decision to step back from development, leaving Revenant Hills really with no active team, ultimately leading to the game being canceled, which that whole section there I found out about this morning while putting the doc together. So unfortunately, the game that looks really, really cool, another, Night in the Woods style adventure, won't be coming out, at least anytime soon, where the team will step back to it in the future when everyone's health is better. We don't know. But as it stands, it's just Night in the Woods. That's it. That's the game.
Yeah.
But
it's one hell of a legacy, though.
Yeah. Fuck. Fun game. Speaking of fun game, Tofr, you've played this game before. This was my first time playing it. What was it like going back and playing this game? How many times you played this game prior to this playthrough?
I think this is my third time playing it.
Okay. And how was this third time through?
It was as good as it always has been.
Okay.
There's lots I can get into that we're gonna get into later. But the writing is as sharp as ever. The visuals are just glorious. I despite everything that happened to the team and the whole story behind it, I love this game to death, which is a really, really poor choice of words. I apologize.
Yeah. All good. This was a fun experience for me, right? I just told you before, this has been a busy month. It's been a busy week. I have a lot. After we wrap up here, I have like 10 other things to do before tomorrow. It's a long day. So I had to make sure I had time to get in for Night in the Woods. And it being my first time, I thoroughly enjoyed this as well. We talked a little bit in between, not too much detail, but I had like this lull in the middle where I was like, oh, this is kind of dragging now. I'd really like to get through this. But they did a good job of kind of piecing it out with like, here's a part that drags, here's something that excited me, something that drags, here's something that excited me. So I kind of still had a motivation to keep going. But for the most part, like, head to toe, I really enjoyed my time with Night in the Woods. And it's weird to say like enjoyed, right? Because I think I started having this realization with video games with Last of Us Part 2, where a game can be good but not happy. Like I most of the time when I enjoyed a game, whatever it was, I said, yeah, it's a good time. And like Last of Us and now Night in the Woods are both examples of like, yes, I'm having fun with the gameplay. Yes, I'm enjoying experiencing what's going on here. But saying I'm having fun would probably be a lie, because there's some heavy stuff where I'm like, this isn't fun, but I'm still invested. I'm still enjoying my experience, even if it's not a happy experience. So I think that was a good way to look at it moving forward with Night in the Woods. So yeah, good time. Real quick, in case anyone watching has played the game and wants to write in, whether you finished it, watched it, anything like that. I didn't put the thing in any of the places, but I will throw the link into the chat if you guys want to write in and give us your thoughts on Night in the Woods from an outside perspective, whether you watch me stream or anything. I will put that link in there. You can feel free to write in, and we'll read that towards the end of our discussion here. But in case you have no idea what's going on Night in the Woods, I'll give you a quick synopsis. After dropping out of college, 20-year-old May Borowski returns home to Possum Springs, a small town way behind in terms of modern advancements. But May takes his moment of freedom to catch up with her old high school friends, see what they're up to, and truly see how much her friends' lives she's missed out on for the better or for worse. It is a 2D adventure game. You kind of roll around as this anthropomorphic cat, who's a little like out of it in terms of like being able to read people and being able to know what to say, what not to say, conversing with people. How much do you relate with May? We can get into this thing where you question me a little bit earlier, like, what did you say? But
let me just read out what you wrote. Okay. So people can form their own opinion.
Okay.
But the document says May fucking sucks. And listen, I get it because for most of the game she absolutely does.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I relate to her so much because depression can make you suck as a person.
Sure.
It's depression can be one of the most like, you can seem like such a selfish person when you're deep into the throes of depression.
Yeah.
And for most of the game, May totally is. Yeah. She forgets things. She doesn't notice things. She's just doing her own thing. And I can really relate to that because like I said earlier, I'm having a bout of depression right now.
Yeah.
I haven't been keeping up to date with my friends at the moment. I've been shutting them out a bit. And I've been that selfish asshole right now. Even though I try not to be, but it happens. And I'm not saying that to make excuses. But it's just what I feel happens when depression really hits.
Yeah.
So that's but I want maybe you should give some more context onto why and which ways that she does seem pretty awful in this game.
Yeah, so while I was playing through, I don't think I really noticed this from the beginning until I reached a certain point. We'll get into more detail about the difference between the two kind of stories you can take. But during one of the B stories, there's a conversation where May and I'm going with Mai. I'm going to try and lock with Mai this episode. I'm going to say May and Mai back and forth. But Mai and B are having this conversation about like where she's at in life, why she wishes she had, and like why she's like, you messed this up for yourself, and I'm like just so envious that you had that, but then I'm pissed that you threw that away. And I think that was like my eye opener of like, damn, May does kind of suck in that way, and not in like your personality sucks. Like I understand that it is driven by like, you know, depression and whatever other mental disabilities that May's going through. And I'm sorry if that's the wrong turn of phrase for that type of perspective. But I think May does a lot of things to hurt the people around her, specifically B, in forgetting some of the important things in her life, whether they're happy or sad, and just like almost using that. They even phrase it in the game later on. It's just like, was it best friends by proximity, or just like best friends because that's all they really have? Like, I guess because we're here, we can just be best friends, but not because we actually are best friends type deal. But yeah, leading up, I think there's a lot of conversations where I think May hurts the people around her, whether that be conversation with her mom because she got a little pissy about, you know, you want to talk about this, like, you know, mom, fuck you. Any of those different things. And I had this, I'm like, damn, my main character kind of sucks, and I don't love this very much. Now, obviously, for the headline, like, burster of like, bam, got him, say that she sucks. I don't genuinely think May, as a human, as a cat, as a person, as a character, like, sucks. But a lot of flaws where I was just like, can I be someone else? Can I play as another character right now? Because my character is the bad guy. I don't love this. But yeah, no, I think that's really good for building the characters, especially B, because I think B is, I would say, easily one of the best written, if not the best written character in this game. You can argue for May as well, but yeah, she kind of sucks, but in like a loving way, I guess. But
no, but it's true. But that's one of the reasons that this game hits home for me so hard, is that these characters are written as people, and people can kind of suck.
They can kind of suck. They do kind of suck.
Yeah, especially if you don't know what's going on with them. Like you mentioned, the fight she had with her mom, May.
Yep.
And one of the big reasons that she has that fight is just because she doesn't know what to say. She doesn't know why she quit college. She doesn't know why she came home, because that's where the depression comes in. And again, I'm not using depression as an excuse, because it never is. But it, like, I relate.
Sure. Yeah.
Just put it that way.
Yeah. No, I think is someone who does not suffer from depression, but I am very sympathetic. I won't even say empathetic. Yeah, sympathetic to it. I grown to a place where I know I have my own issues where I'm not dealing with things properly, and that's on me. And I know that sounds so like shallow and aggressive in a way of being like, I know you got your problems, but figure them out. But I never want to sound that aggressive. But I think as we all grow and realize, like, these are the things I deal with on a daily basis, but me having those problems should not ultimately be everybody else's problem. I should be able to, in some way, shape, or form, be able to maintain that to not hurt those around me. And that's a personal thing, right? Whatever I'm going through, whatever ill mood I'm in, I don't want my, I don't want to go as far as say my depression, because I never want to like take that title from someone who actually has depression, as yourself. But for lack of a better term, if I'm having like a depressing day, like I don't want that to be like, I'm not having a good day, so I'm going to make that everyone else's problem. And I think from my perspective, that's why I found it like an issue for May. Another one leading into like the nightclub, where she just like rattles off over and over again. I'm like, you are really ruining your friend's entire existence tonight. Shut your fucking mouth. And that was one of those, I'm like, I know I talk a lot, but this is one where I'm like, it's time for me to shut up. It's time for me to stop talking. And I'm like, May, read the room. Shut your mouth. Stop speaking. Out of context, it makes like no sense, but we'll get into it then. But yeah, I guess I just think there's a case where a lot of people can, though you have to do a lot of things, and I appreciate those hurdles that you have to deal with. I think in whatever case you can, it's nice to be able to maintain so it's not everybody's problem, which that still sounds, this is hard to talk about. I hate talking about mental health and everything, because I'm so like bad at the terminology and like what I could or couldn't say, though it doesn't sound like I'm like, I know something's wrong, but get the fuck over it. Like hearing the I know you're depressed, but just be happy. That's like my dad thing. I always hate those. He's just like, it's a good day to have a good day. I'm like, I hate that, because you can't, it's not a switch. You can't just turn it on. And I hate that so much. I love you, Dad, but that's such a, I hate that sentence so much.
No, but you're right in that like she might be depressed. She still is responsible for her own actions.
Correct.
And like one of the things that really makes that point early on in the game is when B is telling her about her life, and you have two options as an answer. You always have a choice, or you can choose. While B feels that her life is not like something she can choose. It's something she has to do.
Yeah.
And either option sucks, but you still have to choose one as the player.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you still have to like act in a bad way. And yeah, it just shows you how she's how should I put this? She's a bit full of herself.
Yeah.
At the start of the game. She knows everything. She has the answers to everything. She knows what a good life is, what the right thing to do is, but then she ends up not doing any of the right things.
Right. Oh, God love her, yeah. But damn, it's true.
But that's why I think it's really well written.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. People, that's like, like you're supposed to behave a certain way, even though you have depression, but then it does happen and it does get in the way. And I think they really, really translated that beautifully in this game.
For sure. Yeah. I think it's a good point to be like, hey, we're reviewing Night in the Woods here in 2024. Old game is old. So right now, gloves are off. Spoiler warning. This is last chance. If you're ready to check out, well, gloves are off. We're talking all things spoilers. We're talking about characters, actions, events, etc. So in case you're like, wait, no, I have to play the game, this is the time to hit pause, come back, 10 hours from now when you beat the game, and then hear what we had to say and everything else. So just be warned. But I guess, like I said, I didn't write like a bullet list of like the entire events of the game, so I'll kind of start from the beginning. I guess we'll just stop and talk about each bit as we feel necessary. Like the game starts, May comes in. I think I said I was going to go mine. I'm going May, so I guess I'm going May this episode. May comes home. She's at the train station. She's like, no one's here to pick me up. Well, this kind of sucks. So she ends up like, I just get a soda for the janitor, etc. Go home. She finally gets out. And this janitor's got this like energy to him. I don't know if there's any like behind the scenes, like he's that guy, but I'm like, what's up with this janitor? Is he God? He just God? Is that what's going on here? I don't know.
He's the janitor.
I don't know. He's got to be more than a janitor. He's doing something. He's a something kind of guy. I don't know. But then May makes her way through the woods, gets home. Parents are like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be back to tomorrow. She's like, nope, it was tonight. Which I think was like one of the first, like, I get it. I'd be pissed too. If I'm like, hey, I'm coming home, I'm going to need a ride. And they like totally dropped the ball on that. And they're like, oh, I thought it was tomorrow. Oops. But also, I didn't see the conversation between parents. She might have been like, I might be home in the coming days. I'll see you then. And if that's what that is, like, you know what? Didn't know it was tonight. Thought it was tomorrow. Whoops. Sorry. So I can't blame the parents on that one. But you have dad who is working like this shitty job in like a deli to be like, I gotta make ends meet so we can keep the house and everything. And then mom who's working at the church like a secretary. It's like a sweet little lady. She always wants to like talk to you about what's going on, but she doesn't want to force it on you. But eventually you're like, you're kind of hiding from your problem. So how about you want to talk about it? And you're like, no, I don't want to talk about it. Like, well, maybe we should though. Maybe we should probably figure this out, I think.
Yeah.
But are you okay? Who saw you on, mom or Mace?
Damn. There's no right answer here because I understand where May is coming from, but also that family had invested heavily to get May into college. Yeah. And they feel like they've just thrown all of that away. Yeah. So there's no right. Don't make me choose.
Yeah, that's the right answer. That's the right answer. That's what you needed to say. You passed. Okay. But no, you mentioned like the money thing, right? And this is it's probably like the third or fourth interaction you have with mom, where she mentions like, you know, we'd spent 18 years saving money, worrying about having to save money here and lose access to these things, etc., to like make sure you have money to go to college. And like if college isn't the right move, that's fine. I just feel like as the parents who took 18 years to take care of you for you to not do it, I think we are owed some kind of explanation or conversation. Like, what happened here? What's going on? And I won't lie, when they had that conversation after talking to B about like, I can't go to college because I'm stuck here doing this. Again, we'll get to B in a minute. But I was like, damn, they're going to take that college fund and give it to B so she can do her thing. That didn't happen. I was really hoping that was going to happen. She's going to be like, it's not for me, but B, we dream. But then I'm like, then May's have to go to the shop. It would have been great. It would have been so good. I would have loved it, but yeah. But yeah, so now May's back in town. She's kind of like, let me catch up with my friends. You get to explore and meet 3 of your friends. There's Greg, dingo. I don't know if there's an official like what animal.
Probably a dingo.
A dingo sounds right. The energy, yeah. So you have Greg the dingo, who personally one of my favorites. I love the energy there with Greg. You have Greg's boyfriend Angus, the bear who works at the video shop, and then you have Bia the crocodile, alligator.
I think so.
Reptile, who's like a very edgy, hot topic type style, who works at this hardware shop that she does not want to be at. But again, more story for Bia later. I said she's very well written. She's got a lot going on there. You have a favorite of these guys, that like one that you pick to stick around with or relate to more? Or?
It's hard because like, well, we're gonna mention it anyway. You have to like pick who you spend your time with every day, and you can choose to like spend one day with Bia and then another day with Greg, for example, or you can choose to spend all of your days with one of them. Mm-hmm. But you're always gonna miss out on someone's story, right? And I struggled with that because I've played through both Greg's and B's stories. Mm-hmm. And I had a hard time choosing this time. Yeah.
Who'd you pick this time? Did you pick one or did you jump back and forth? Or
I did jump back and forth. Okay. I wanted a little bit of both.
Sure.
Did you have a favorite?
I definitely related the most to Greg. I think in terms of like energy and just the vibe, I thought Greg was goofy. That being said, Greg's just like, crimes, let's do crimes. I'm like, well, that might be a little much for me, Greg. I don't know if I'm about all that. I'm going to pump it back a little bit. Yeah, I think Greg was probably my favorite, but I did like Angus. I like the vibe. I did a little bit of it on stream. I eventually reached the point where I couldn't stream through the whole thing, just because of time. But Angus, I had this like, yeah, it's me, Angus. I work in the video shop. There's porn in the back room if you're interested. And I liked the vibe that I think both existed for Angus, but I also put into it with like the character voice acting type deal. So I enjoyed Angus too. I would say, weirdly enough, though I love B, how she's written, probably was my least favorite. I think in just like tone and like the intro, you kind of, when you're reunited, like she immediately like kind of hates you and you don't know why. I'm like, ooh, I don't catch that vibe. I wish I went somewhere else. But the game keeps telling you like you can go this way or this way. I'm like, I guess I could go to B. If like her shop is first on the path to like seeing all three friends. So I would often stop, and whatever she said, I'm like, this will decide if I want to hang out today or not. Whether she's like, yeah, I got to do a thing today. You want to come? I'm like, doesn't sound like you want me there. I'm gonna go talk to Greg. See ya. Like that was often my choice, not realizing that it wasn't like narratively like you're going to end up going with all your friends. Like it did leave you to a point where you have to pick. You can jump back and forth, obviously, but ideally you pick all of Greg or all of B so you get their entire narrative, which I missed on. I was already 3 and I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't realize I could like target one of them. So now I have mixed match. I have 1 for B, 2 for Greg, 3 for B, and then like it all kind of came together. I'm like, oh man, nah, I'm too late. I can't go back and start over. But yeah. Simple answer. I like Greg.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Good Greg. But so you come back, you're talking to your friends, eventually like, hey, the band's still together. If you want to come, hang out, come back in the band, play bass for us. Homie, I gotta know. Does the band just suck? Or can I just not hear music? Like, I think, and maybe it's because often May's just like, I don't know how to play this song. I don't know this song. I mean, that's just because you like when you play it poorly, it's what happens. Maybe if you nail it, it's like, hey, good job. But anytime I'm listening to this song sounds great until the bass comes in. I'm like, this sounds horrendous. Am I just, do I not have taste in music? Is that a me problem? Or does this all sound great except for May? I had no clue the entire time.
I think they might have done that on purpose.
Yeah.
Just to like accentuate the fact that she doesn't know what she's playing.
Yeah.
I really like the different songs that the band creates.
Yeah.
Even with the bass.
Oh, well, I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
But then again, I do have like I have a big love for like slap bass.
Okay.
So and it kind of sounds slappy.
Okay. I see you. I ain't attacking nobody's musical taste, by the way. In case you got offended and you're typing an angry comment, that's not what I'm doing. When I started playing, I got home, I check out my room, there's a bass, you can play one of the songs. I started doing that. I'm like, this is okay. I can't tell. Am I bad? I don't know what this is. We'll figure it out. Then we go to band practice, play the first group song, and there's a lot going on the screen. There's all 4 windows of each character, and things will change. Yeah. There's lyrics at the bottom, but it's a Guitar Hero type thing where I can't really look away or I'm going to miss notes. So I'm like, I can't see what's happening. I got it through my peripherals. But man, I hated listening to every time I hit a note. I'm like, is it, because they don't give you like good, great, bad, it's like miss or hit. So I'm like, am I not getting a perfect note? If I get it perfect, does it sound actually good? I don't know. But I was so thrown the entire time. Every time, like, you want to practice? I'm like, no. I don't want to play another song. That being said, it was fun stuff. The actual like Guitar Hero type deal. But yeah, band gets together, you have practice, you go out for some pizza. You're like, oh, we all got jobs. We got to go to bed, whatever. We'll see you tomorrow. Just find an arm laying on the ground outside of the restaurant. And this is where I really enjoyed, they have these unique mini games in Night in the Woods where, unlike, just walk up to something like, oh, I found this thing on the ground. And May picked up a can of soda. Like, there's a mini game where the hand comes in, you grab it, you move it around, you go to change a car battery, you grab it, electrocute yourself. Like, there's all these different things. So when you find this arm, you pick up a stick, and the mini game is just like poke all different parts of the arm until eventually you reveal the sleeve and they have some like diamond tattoo on their arm. You have no idea what it is, but you're like, interesting. Until your aunt, who's a cop, what a narc, shows up and is just like, back away, kids. This isn't for you. Don't look at this. I didn't know what to think of the aunt. Because the first moment I saw her, I'm like, corrupt cop. I'm like, I don't know what's going on in this town, but I'm like, once we start to see like the cult stuff, or even she's like, hey, get away from that, to see, I'm like, she knows what that is. She's corrupt. She's a bad one. And I'm not entirely sure that she's not. But yeah, that was my first thought.
Oh, that's interesting. That thought never came up to me.
Huh.
I just thought she's like, she wants to do good, but she's not really that good at it.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
That's how it felt for me. Like, she wants to try and be like this badass police officer, but she doesn't really pull it off.
Yeah. She tries, but
tries.
Yeah, no, I was prepared for like the reveal. Like as we get closer, again, we'll talk about like what's going on at the end. But like they have all these masked characters. I'm like, one of them's gonna like reveal who they are. And we got close at one point, but I'm like, we as the player don't know, but maybe they do. I don't know. But yeah, I was totally prepared for corrupt aunt to be a cop. But back to poking the arm, they scurry you away. And you're like, okay, something's going around this town. We don't really know what it is, but we'll get there. We'll see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's from here where you start to have, after you like finish going out and hanging out with your friends, you have these like dream sequences, which I thought were super stellar. They were stunning, gorgeous. I love there's like this halo blue effect around everything, a little bit of purples. But it's just this like atmospheric 2D platformer where I think the first one's just you breaking a bunch of stuff with a stick, kind of like causing anarchy, doing crimes. But then forward, each one you have to like build the score of the area where there's 4 different musicians all around. And when you run into one, they'll start playing their part of the song. Then go to the next one, they play their part of the song. And once you have all 4, you end that level. And then something crazy usually happens. I think the first one's just a giant bear that comes up and just like you snap out of this nightmare. Though I got lost on a few and I'm like, I don't know where I need to go. I had to pull up a YouTube guide. I'm like, oh, it's in the middle of the map. I just didn't know there was a platform to go down. But I thought those were really cool. Those are probably my favorite part of the game.
Really? Wow.
I think so.
Praise.
I love the atmosphere of those. Saying I haven't played the constellations because the game won't let me have them, but
no, I get it. There's something etheric about them.
Yeah.
And I did, like, when I played the game the first time, I remember that I got majorly lost in these levels. And that got kind of frustrating. So that's why I'm not that big of a fan. But I get it. Like, they're beautiful. Like, one of the levels, usually the levels are like houses, like a tiny town where you have to find each of the musicians. But then in one dream, the town is actually like a train.
Yep.
That's moving forward. Like there's a lot of creativity that went into these levels.
Yeah, I enjoyed them so much, and I think it's a visual thing. I love the, not to say that I don't love the rest. Like the rest of the game is visually stunning. The like paper, I don't call it paper cut, but there's very like collage type style to its vibrancy and like the backgrounds, the foregrounds, the characters, all the different like assets in the world. It's gorgeous. But there's like something simple about these dream sequences where like all the platforms are just like black blocks. There's no like real detail to them, and then you're kind of existing out of some of this like haze and darkness and everything. To like find light and turn on these lanterns and discover new areas to like ultimately put the song together and then wake up from the dream or uncover whatever weird creature that's not a god, but it's got god tendencies to them that are going on, which are really cool. So yeah, I fuck with those heavy. They were really dope.
Yeah.
Then after you wake up from a couple of the dreams, this is where you kind of get to pick like the B or the Greg path. And again, you don't have to lock to one, but really if you want like a certain set of stories, you'll go all 3 days doing one or the other. This is where I first picked B, jumped to Greg, and then back to B and realized what I was doing and why it was wrong. Do you prefer one of these stories over the other? I know you've played through both. I've watched both now, so I know what happens in both.
Oh, cool.
I've just only played bits of each.
Yeah. I like both of them because they're both really well written and they show really human side that takes the characters away from caricature. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It shows like this level of depth because, for example, Greg, he's like this ADHD guy all over the place. very bouncy, kind of like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, I like that comparison.
Yeah, but then there's like a whole lot more going on with him. Like he wants to escape from the town with Angus, and that's why he's working now. And he's trying his best not to get like drawn back into his bad habits. But it's a constant struggle, and I feel like if you miss out on that story, it you don't notice it. Whilst you're always aware of how B is struggling, you're not aware of Greg and how he's struggling.
Yeah.
Until you play his side missions. I don't know. Should we call them that?
His path, his quest. Yeah. And I totally agree with like missing out on like the depth of that, because really, so I went in with B, where the first mission with her, the second one was the grocery shopping, and that's where I found out like, oh, May's an asshole. That was my like awakening to that. I can't remember what her first step was. Shoot, it's gonna haunt me. I was gonna snap to it later. We hang out with B the first time. I did that mission. The second one I went with Greg, where he's already went to this old like Chuck E. Cheese style restaurant and stolen like the animatronic. So the mission you come back to is you are helping him build it. So if you go with him the whole path, you go and steal the stuff with him. You pick which head you want, and then you have to like moving company your way up the stairs, like step back, pivot, and like that whole 9 yards. Then you build the device, and then there's a part where you're like going out in the forest, you're doing some knife fights with each other, because that's fun, I guess. Stab each other until someone gives up. Sure. I was like, I'm kind of glad I didn't get to play that part. I was like, I'm not about it. And then there's like a weird little mannequin in the forest where you're like taking shots at it with the crossbow. Like it's a lot more of like a fun one. There's a lot less like heartbreak and like sad times in Greg's, I think. But you're right mentioning like if you don't play through Greg's, you don't get that like descent into like immaturity again, because Greg kind of is like immature, and he has that balance with May. And so May goes to college, and then Greg's kind of like, yeah, all right, I'm going to move in with Angus. We want to save money, etc. And then as you come back into town, you're like influencing to like, I'm going to leave work early today. Like I usually, at the moment my boss walks in, I'm out the door before she comes in, and blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, you walk over there anytime, like, you want to go to band practice? And Greg's just out and gone. You don't really see the repercussions of that, but you can see that, like, Greg's not sticking to, hey, I have to work till 5. Hey, I have to be here for something. Like, he's just out whenever we want to go out. We'll go break stuff. We'll break light bulbs. We'll sneak into mansions. We'll do our thing, because fun's fun, and we love it. And yeah, there's a moment where he, like, tells you all, like, hey, we're planning to move out. It's this far away. And you can see it in May, like, oh, well, you're kind of my best friend. Do you want to just, like, stay? Like May wants Greg to derail everything he's been doing since she left just because she's back. And I'm like, come on, May, that's not really cool. That's not great. We can't do that. I was waiting for Angus to be like, what, you want to stay? No, I don't think so. And then like Dukes with May. I'm like, oh God, Angus is going to ruin you. But that wasn't a point there.
Angus is too sweet.
He is. Angus is so sweet. I love Angus. But yeah, then so if you go the B route, again, I forget the first mission. Someone out there is gonna be like, Danny, it's this, duh. And then the second mission, she's like, I have to go fix an old lady's like furnace. She locks you in the basement.
The first one is the Fort Lucenne one, I think.
Yes, the mall. Yes, thank you. God, I couldn't. Okay, that was one of the parts that I thought drug for me a little bit. That's probably why I erased it from my mind.
Okay.
I enjoyed parts. I enjoyed the like stealing mini game. You're like, quick, go steal that belt buckle, and you had to like do that without getting caught. And then the fish, we had to climb up in the fish fountain and spray people. But the actual walking through and just talking, I'm like, I'm a little out of this. But yeah, you go to the mall, the old rundown mall that like every small town has. Like, oh, they're just not doing anything anymore. But then after you do that, you meet with this old lady. I don't know why she brings you along for this job, but like she probably shouldn't. You lock in the basement, you break out by breaking her furnace. She's like, oh, we got out. And then, yeah, the one I mentioned like a handful of times with you, she's like, hey, I have to cook dinner for Dad. May's like kind of invites herself. You go grocery shopping together. And I guess the dialogue changes based on what you pick. If you pick something Dad doesn't like, he'll be like, this is pretty bad. This is a terrible steak. Da, 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 da. But yeah, this was probably the first like heartfelt moment I felt in the game where you cook dinner and Dad kind of has this argument with B about hey, you're running the shop. It's still my store. I make the decisions. And B's like, I need you to sign off on this stuff so we can pay the guys. Dad's like, I'll do it when I'm ready. And like, don't tell me how to run my company, which is like a dagger in the heart to her because she is running the company. She's doing everything because her dad's getting old, sitting at home, not doing anything. And it's just like, man, this has got to be frustrating. So after that, B's like, we're going to hang out in my room. And they have this heartfelt conversation where B's just like, I wish I had the opportunity you did. I can't go anywhere. I am stuck here. I run this shop. My mom is dead. Oh, we skipped that. There's a part where B drives you home. And May's just like, oh, how's your mom? And B's like, she died senior year. Like, you knew that. You knew she died and just forgot. Get out of my fucking car. Like that was, I'm like, yikes.
And it's not even the only moment she forgets that.
Yeah, it happens multiple times. It's, oh my God, it's so brutal. And like, again, as I sit here and think like the 50-50 of like May's a shitty person, but also like what's going on, like how much can she choose to, how could she just not how could she not forget? How could she force herself to not forget? Like I feel bad in that degree, but also I'm like, oh, that's a big thing. That kind of sucks. I feel bad.
That's true.
But yeah, they're having this argument in B's bedroom about like, I can't leave. And May's like, yeah, you can just quit. Like, yeah, I can just quit. Good call. Just do that. And then do what? Go where? And like, this is back and forth. And B's just like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, I am so fed up with you. And like, I honestly thought this was the break. I'm like, oh, we're done with B. B does not want to see us ever again. No band practice, no nothing. That doesn't happen. You still come back and she's still like pissed at you for being an asshole. But like, that was like the turning point. That's when I wrote down in my notepad, May's kind of an asshole. Like May kind of sucks. But no, like I said, this is where I was like, B is like my favorite written character in this game for sure.
Yeah. But the thing is, I get B's frustration, but May is an easy target.
Sure. Yeah. No,
that's B uses that easy target.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't have to hang out with May, but she keeps giving the option to, and then keeps cussing her out and saying like, you had what I want and now you just stepped away from it. Yeah. And that's what I meant. Like the characters are really fleshed out. Like all of them make mistakes. Greg makes mistakes. B makes mistakes. May makes a lot of mistakes. Yeah. Damn.
I was thinking about it that way as like May being the punchy bag for B to just be like, I'm pissed. I need to get this out in some degree. So like I didn't have that as my mindset. I always thought like May pissed her off and it's like, damn, May, you're really just doing it again and again. You need to shut up. But no, you're right. B could just be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna go home alone tonight. Don't come over for dinner. Say no. Like whatever. Damn, that's a way to vent. Shit. But then there's another B mission. I think there's like a separation. There's like 3 missions, space, then like a 4th one for each of them. And this is one where you're like, hey, there's this nightclub I like to go to on a regular basis when I have a free time. I'm going out. My friend invited me. I guess you can come if you want. So May comes along. She's like, I don't really dance. You have this really cool like moment of freedom to like, oh, I'm dancing. Like, I didn't know I could do this. So then B is having a conversation with this guy she seems to be into. And like all of the people here are like college people. They go to college. They're working on their degrees. And B like kind of blends in. Like I'm also in college. Like I'm hip like you guys. And then May is just running her mouth. Just like college, not for me. But this girl, she runs her own company. She doesn't need college either. And like, it seems like she's doing her best to gas up her friend for this guy, but she is butchering every single thing she says. Until B's just like, you know what? I'm gonna go, and just like runs away crying. And the friend that invited you is like, I told her not to invite you because you were an asshole, and I gave her a shot, but I'm glad to know I was right the whole time.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, fuck.
I feel that was harsh because I get it. May ruined the whole thing.
Yeah.
But B never told her that she was pretending to be a college student.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like there's a part of the blame should go to May, but a part of the blame should rest with B herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get it. Like she feels ashamed to admit it and stuff like that. But again, that's what I mean with these characters feeling like whole people, and they make mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Like I feel the conversation they have afterwards is pretty brutal. It's pretty honest, but I think it's one of the best conversations in the game.
It's so good. It's so good. Because, yeah, after that, May catches up and they're having this conversation at, like, the pier, the dock. It's dark. I can't tell what environment, but we're by water. So something.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they kind of come back to, like, I'm so jealous of all the opportunities you had that you threw away that I only wish I could have, but I just feel trapped here. There's nowhere I can go. And, like, this is one of those moments where I think I felt the most, like, familiar with. Where I've had the case of, like, I'm not in B's case. I don't have a dead parent or a parent who, like, can't get up and I'm running their company. Like, I'm nowhere near. We're not comparing. But I've had those, like, man, I'm kind of stuck here right now. And there's, like, not a thing I can do outside of these, like, like, I can do these things. This is what my daily life is. I can hang out with these people. I can talk with these people. But at the end of the day, like, this box is where I'm stuck. There's nothing outside of that for me. And that sucks. Again, as someone who's gone to college, got their college degree, I'm talking post-college. We won't get into my shit. That's my life. But no, it was tough because I felt so bad for her in this moment where I'm like, I want to give you the world. I want May to be like, Mom, give that college budget to B and send her off. I'll run the hardware store. Then the hardware store is going to run out of business. That was guaranteed to happen. That was going to happen. But, man, dramatic. This is like the end of like the B storyline and then you get into like the finality of like what's going on with May. But shit, if I had another, like if there was just an expansion for like more B story, like what happens either before or after, and like a Life is Strange kind of style, I would have loved that because she's so well written.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But they all are.
Yeah.
I could have played a sequel to this easily.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens with the team. But yeah, so after this, I something might have fallen in between. I think it was the Harvest Festival, and that might have been before, the bee thing. But you go to this Halloween street fair kind of deal where Bee's like suckered into like, oh, there's an annual performance of like the creation of Possum Springs and how it came together. A bunch of people drop back and like, this is pointless, this is dumb. So May ends up taking like the leading role as the witch. And you don't get the scripts. You kind of have to make it up in like what sounds right. And you hear the audience like, like, okay, wrong line. I fucked it up. Oh, well, it's fine. But after all that's said and done, you see this kid get kidnapped outside the back of the building and you follow them to be like, I got to save this kid. And this dude in a cloak is on the other side of a fence. Narc of an ant cop shows up. She's like, hey, you can't be out here. It's like, but there's a ghost. And this was where like the ghost thing really fell for me. I'm like, I didn't love the ghost hunting stuff. That kind of dragged for me. Because after that, you set up with each of your friends. You're like, all right, one night we're going to go here with Greg. One night we're going to here with B. One night we're going to here with Angus. We're going to find this ghost and see what's going on. I guess because I said I didn't like it. How was the ghost stuff for you? Was it kind of like you didn't like it either? Was it just kind of lukewarm? Was it just a means to get through the story?
I felt it was like they're trying to show that May is still more of a kid compared to the others who have become adults. And I felt that this just made her feel like a kid a bit too much. Yeah. Like, I get that she's like really full of herself and stuff like that and wants to hang out and just play with her friends. But then to even like insinuate that she believes in ghosts felt a bit too childish for her character. I don't know. It's scary enough as it is. So maybe that's why she made it up that it was a ghost, because she couldn't handle the reality of what was happening. I don't know. But it's not my favorite part of the story either.
Sure. Yeah. I guess there were moments, right? Because then you go to the graveyard with B, and she's like, hey, my mom's buried here. I'm going to talk to her. You go find some tombstones and get some information. And while you're doing that, like, I think I tested because I thought I had to go forward for the gravestones, and I'm walking. It was the weird thing of like, all right, I'll talk to you later. And then you're both walking the same way. I'm like, ooh, what do I do? And then I follow B. I'm like, I guess I'll see. She's like, hey, I'm kind of doing a thing. Did you go find the gravestones? I'm like, okay, I got to do the other way. Got it. So you turn around, you find the gravestones, get some more information. Ultimately, you're like, well, nothing here. Let's get on out of here. Go to like an old mansion with Greg the next night, and there's like a bunch of elevators. You have to figure out, one goes up. For some reason, there's no one elevator that goes to the top and bottom. You have one that goes from, the stairs are close. You go to 1 to 2, 2 to 3 in another elevator, 3 down to 1, which is another secret room that you can only get to the elevator. And then 4 to 5, but then 5 back down to basement, and it's a mess. I'm like, why is this place constructed like this? But the entire time there's someone kind of following you in this mansion, assuming like a security guard or something, and you're just trying to make sure they don't catch you and you get in trouble, to eventually fire escape, get out, and you're good. And then this is the part where I didn't get to play as Angus. So I wrote down, there's a spot where you're supposed to go out to like an old campsite with Angus. And some of the gameplay I saw, it had like some constellation gameplay. You're like drawing constellation in the air and everything. And you mentioned there's different things where you find this old teacher, old someone in your like neighborhood who is watching, like doing some star watching at night. And I never got that interaction. Anytime when I finally found them on the roof, it was like epilogue. It was like at the end of the game, it was like, hey, come back any night. And I'm like, oh, I have 5 minutes left of the game. There is no anymore. There is no coming back. So yeah, that was the thing.
It's one of the things I love most about this game is how fleshed out it is, because you've got a really interesting story going on with May, but also with her friends. But then you can visit the church on a daily basis, and there's stuff happening there. You can visit Mr. Chazukov, your old teacher, every other day to watch the stars with him, and he gives you these stories about these constellations, and it's not necessary for the story, but it's interesting and it adds so much to this world. There's like Selma is one of your neighbors who you run across every day, and if you stop to talk to her, she will give you a poem every day because she's a poet, and it's really cool.
Yeah, is that the bear? It's on like the stoop when you like walk into the. Okay, cool. I talked to her the one time. I didn't stop talking again, so my bad, Selma. I'm sure your poems were great.
No, but the cool thing is, like, there's a point later in the game where we haven't gotten yet, where something has happened to May, and there's like a bunch of people gathered round, and Selma is one of them. And if you listened to every one of her poems, she will be like, "Oh man, May is so cool. She always listens to me." And that it's only a little detail. It's only a little detail, but it adds a lot to May's character in this instance.
Not my May. My May didn't listen to she. Oh no.
Well, let me ask you, how long did it take you to finish the game?
I'd say it took a little longer because the first 2 sessions I streamed it on Twitch, and that's putting in the voice acting, exploring, stopping to talk to chat. So that alone, those 2 sessions were about 6 hours. And then I probably took another 5 or so after, just being like, all right, we're done on stream. I'm just going to play the game to make sure it's done for the podcast. So I'd say probably around 11, 12-ish hours, somewhere in that ballpark.
But the cool thing is, like, you can perfectly finish the game within that time span. Yeah. But there's a lot more to uncover if you really want to get into this world. There's the replayability if you want to like get to know both Greg and B's stories. Yeah. But there's all these side characters who have like these interesting dialogues. If you go into the tunnel, there's like a tunnel in the city center where the teenagers hang out. Right. And on some days, Miss Rosa is there, and Miss Rosa was a friend of your granddad's. Yeah. And maybe she was more than just a friend of your granddad's.
What you know about Grandpa? What you doing over there? Yeah. What's going on?
And like all of these characters, they make Possum Springs feel like a town that's alive. Yeah. That makes sense.
It was something you had mentioned about the church. I'd only gone there a couple times because the first time we went, just talking to Mom. Second time, the pastor's like, "Hey, I have a friend in the woods if you want to go talk to him." I never found the friend. I like walked out there. I'm like, is it not part of the same day? Did I go to the wrong spot? I wasn't sure. But after that, I ended up like, okay, I guess I just won't swing back out to the church. I'll just mainline, the story stuff. But seeing someone like behind the scenes and people talk about the game after the fact, I guess there's like not a mission, but a little side event that'll happen if you go to the church on a certain day. The library opens up and you can go sleep on the couch. And when you go to sleep on the couch, like the spirit of your grandpa, like comes into the room, and then he'll like sit with you. And there's not like a time limit on it. It's not a cutscene that just ends. You just lay down. May goes to sleep, and when Grandpa sits there, that's as long as you want. If you want to sit there and just marvel in that moment, if you want to let it sit overnight, like Grandpa will sit there until like you as May wake up, and then go on with your day. So I'm like, oh, that's really like sweet. Like grandpa's still there with you with like all the shit you're going through, whatever you've done, whatever you've said, whatever decisions you made. I'm like, oh, that was really sweet. I liked seeing that, wishing I had found that myself when I played. That seemed really cool.
That's true.
But with May and the gang here, they're doing their adventures, they're finding their things, ghost hunting, whatever. To one night, wander in the woods, and they find like this cult type group going on. And there's a guy who I think his legs trapped under the rock, or yeah, it's a lot of shadows, so I had to kind of piece together what images there are. But this guy is screaming for his life, and they're like, sorry, bud, you broke the rules. You left an arm out there for the cops to find. Now they know something's going to happen. Now, this is the part where I'm like, they're covering. I know Auntie's still one of these guys. I know she's a narc. I know it. But ultimately, they are killing this man in the middle of the woods. For what reason? We don't know yet. But, like, I guess they're finish him off, shoot him in the head, drop a rock on him, something. And you make a noise. You're like, oh, my God, is that May? May Borowski? And then you start to run. And there's like a little chase sequence. They're following you. My heart was racing. And I'm like, no, please, I don't want to die. I got to figure out what happens. And in the chase sequence, there's these little rocks and they're shadows, right? And I didn't know if they were actual obstacles, but I didn't want to risk it. So I jumped over them. Eventually, I realized the guys chasing you, they ran through. I'm like, oh, then they're just set pieces. They're not actually like obstacles. So I didn't run through the one and died. And like, that's where the cutscene ended. I'm like, oh no, did I ruin my story? Did I let May die? For just to cut to the rest of the gang hanging out in Greg and Angus's apartment. Yeah. And I'm like, where's May? Did you not go back for her? And this is where I started to write down. I'm like, everyone's an asshole. I was like, everyone, you let me die. But yeah, they're just hanging out in the apartment like, I don't know where May is. And I'm like, why are we so nonchalant about this? Why are we just like, she might be somewhere. I don't really know. Yeah, you've replayed it, but I guess the first time, like, where were you at with this? Where were you at with this? Like, I think my character's dead.
Let me think. It's been a while since my first playthrough. But
or even the most recent, you being like, interesting. Like whatever thoughts you had in the scene.
I got that they were hiding. I just thought that like May was like somewhere off screen.
Yeah.
But apparently she wasn't. So that was a surprise, especially considering how nonchalant they were about it, as you said.
You're sitting in the apartment playing video games. Then you have Germ, who also, I love Germ. Germ's funny. He's such a dork. But he's sitting there, he's like, yeah, I play this game every day at home. I'm really good at it. I have the high score. He's just like a little bird, just like running his mouth. Yeah, how's it going, guys? I love Germ. If there's ever an animated show and you need me to voice Germ, let me know, because I'm all for it. I have the high score in Werewolf Bandits 3 or whatever the game was called or something, but
something like that.
Yeah. But then after like some dialogue, I'm making lasagna and cookies and brownies or something. Angus making some weird menu. But it cuts back to the forest where the sun is rising and May is just like crawling out of the dirt. And like she like fell and died. And I guess, and maybe my case was different because I stumbled over the rock, but narratively, they're like, sorry, we took a shot at you. We didn't mean to hit you or kill you or anything. It was like a warning shot. We apologize for him, but that's a little later. But I guess you get shot at during this encounter. But I don't think you get hit or anything, but May is like crawling out of the woods, like holding her gut. She's like sick. I'm assuming getting some kind of infection or something from laying in the dirt all night. To stumble home and you like wake up in the church where everyone's kind of like, hey, pray to God, make sure she's okay. But then you have like the neighbor who, I won't lie, has hints of racism to him. He's got that little old man like, what's that rotten kid doing in my yard? I'm like, he's going to say the N-word any second. I don't trust him. I don't like that neighbor. But he's like, for whatever reason, in the church being like, I hope she dies, or paraphrasing. But he's basically just like, whatever, she's troublemaker. I hope nothing good happens here. Like, he's a terrible person. Why are you here? Cut to the hospital bed where, like, again, the janitor, who might be God here, it's just like hanging out, just like, I'm just here to fix a door. We'll see. And then walks out. But you wake up, and I might have skipped one of the important dreams where it comes up right after this, but you're having this dream where you're walking through the night and you come to this, again, he says he's not a god, but he's got god energy. And it's like a big sphinx. It's just like a big shadow. You see the eyes. It's a cat. And they're kind of telling you about, the world, how, the end, the world has just begun. It is only a few moments from ending, and so on and so forth. A bunch of like really existential stuff like that, but ultimately ends it with the hole in the center of everything. And we're like, what does that mean? I don't know what that's going to entail. So you go back out. May's awake. She sneaks out of the house and stumbles over to Greg's place to be like, hey guys, I'm here. Calls mom. Sorry, I left. I'm at this place. I'm going to sleep. I will have B bring me back later. And there's, a bunch of conversations that make each other feel better. I'm trying to think if there's any like super relevant, important things here before the couch conversation. Cause that's kind of where we find out like what's going on with May. But I think that's,
I don't think there's,
just more like, can I keep playing the game? Like, yeah, the noise feels good. Keep playing the game. Like, okay. And Jerem's just doing his damn thing. But yeah, so the couch conversation, how, you want to tell about that? You want to talk about the couch conversation?
The couch conversation is basically May coming clean, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
About how she like why she had to leave college, how things just stopped feeling real.
Yeah.
Am I phrasing that correctly?
Yeah, sounds right. I think she says, I forget the finer details, but in like baseball, softball as a kid, she ends up like beating this kid within an inch of his life. With the bat or the stick or something. And she kind of has this like plague on her as she like grows up. Like everyone's like, we know what you did. We remember that. And this is the first time we as the player find out what she did. So then she's like, at one point I'm playing a game, and the way they were describing it, I was just like, ooh, is that Monster Prom? They play a Monster Prom? May play a Monster Prom? But she's like, all the characters started to look like shapes. They weren't people anymore. They weren't like entities. They were just like images. They were colors and blops and everything. And she was like, I'm feeling like this doesn't exist for me anymore. To then like, as she gets to college, she had a similar thing going on where like, this isn't real. The people, the teachers, the students, the books, everything I'm studying is not real. It's shapes. It's enigmas. They're not there. Which ultimately was what made her leave college, remembering like some of the childhood issues she's had. Which I'm like, damn, that's brutal. That sucks. And I forget, again, the video I was watching gave a little detail, like what that was, an actual like psychological thing, but I didn't take note of that. So someone out there is probably more educated than I could express that better. But I felt bad. Because this is like a conversation between May and B talking about like what happened or like why she's here. They have a little more deep conversation about their friendship and everything. And fuck.
Yeah, it's a heavy moment in the game. It holds like this kind of beauty for me because she finally manages to open up to someone that she cares about, and I don't know, I think there's something really wholesome about that moment.
Yeah. Oh man. Pretty game. Pretty and like just beautiful game, not necessarily visually, but just like narratively. But after this conversation, B and May fall asleep on the couch. May wakes up and they're like, sorry guys, I gotta go. She's walking through the woods until one of these like hood guys shows up. Isn't responding to her. She's like, what do you want? Who are you? Why are you following me? Etc. No answer. And then out of just from the right side of the screen, just and one of Greg's crossbow bolts and nails this guy in the shoulder. Like, oh, you shot me. Why? And like homie runs and they're like, hey, we don't know why you left. We told you not to do that. But we're here now, so I guess we got to find this ghost, or air quotes ghost, because like we trust you. We're gonna figure out what's going on with you. What's going on? You get into the cave. You take this elevator down. It's an old mining shaft. Now this town used to be like super famous and made money through its mining, but now as time's gone on, it's antiquated. It's not really happening anymore. So the town just kind of living in the past all the time. Like there's conversations of like, this town finally got internet like 5 years ago, and they just lost their favorite pizza place, which now turned into a new taco place, and all these different things that show like the evolution of Possum Springs. But as you're going down through the dark, you hear like a voice be like, hey, if you want to die, you can take a couple more steps. And they turn on this lantern, and it's just like the cult on one side and your group on the other. With this giant chasm in the middle. Now, I was getting some big Republican energy from this conversation. I don't know. There was some stuff going on. But ultimately, they're just like, hey, we live in this town. This is our neighborhood. We live here. We want it to stay pure. And we don't want people ruining that for us. If people are ruining it for us, we have to sacrifice them to the hole at the center of everything, which it's just this giant chasm where they kill people who have done things wrong or are going to cause them trouble, and then sacrifice them to this like god, which is keeping Possum Springs alive.
Yeah.
Fucking brutal. Where I'm like, damn, this is what's happening. And we didn't mention earlier, well, I joked about it with Casey earlier, but at the beginning of the game on this news board, there's a missing kid. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm not sure what's up with him. I think went to high school together, etc. You have a conversation with Greg. He's like, oh, I heard he just hopped on a train and head out of town. They put up missing posters, but that's it. He's just gone. For them to reveal like, yeah, that Casey kid, we killed him. We threw him in there. He's been in there for weeks. And this is like one of Greg's best friends, and he is losing it. He's got the crossbow drawn. He's ready to start firing. But then they all pull out their rifles. Like, you could try, kid. You can get one of us, but you're not getting all of us. It's like crossbow versus rifles. Like, okay, what's the next step? And they're also just like, we're old. We're not going to make it much longer, and we need new blood. So we need people like you, your age, to continue to kill people and sacrifice them so we can keep Possum Springs alive. I've been rambling here for a minute, but where are you at now with this realization and reveal of like, this is how we keep the town alive?
I felt like it wasn't the best sales pitch to like recruit them as as new members. And I get why you mentioned the Republicans. It's very, things need to stay the way they've always been.
Yeah.
And we'll get rid of whoever tries to change that. It still felt a little far-fetched for the kind of game that I thought this was before I started playing it.
Sure.
But it's grown on me, this storyline.
Yeah.
Especially with like the whole game deals with themes of like capitalism and like what happens when you as a person or you as a people aren't interesting anymore or aren't productive anymore.
Yeah.
And you just get thrown to the wayside. Is that how you say it? I think so.
Yeah, it's on the wayside. Yeah. You got it. Nailed it.
And I love that the big climax of the game came down to like the capitalism thing again. Where it's like, we need to get this town to be economically viable. And like, our way of doing that is the only way of doing that. Whilst everything that you've seen from the game so far shows that that's not the case.
Yeah.
Like there's businesses closing, young people are leaving. It's not going well in Possum Springs at all.
So bad.
Yeah, and then you've got this bunch of older people, I guess, claiming that this is fine. This is how it's supposed to be. We have to keep it like this.
Keep the purity of the town. Yeah, like that's the whole thing. And as they continue here, like the crew's like, fuck that. No, we're not going to do that. Why would you think that we'd ever, like, ultimately they're just like, cool, you don't have to, but just know that whatever you, like, you can go to the cops and everything. You don't know our faces. You don't know who we are, but we know who you are. And it's ultimately this threat of just like, say something, find out what happens. And I could just like hear that, like the like recocking the gun, like, go ahead, do something, find out what happens. Because this hole's ready. It's open for you. But ultimately you're just like, so we can leave? Like, yeah, no one's keeping you here. And you walk out. And May's like overwhelmed at this point, can't walk. Angus is carrying her out on his shoulders. You take the elevator back up and you're like, I don't know what we do. I guess we just leave. But the character who Greg shot, I'm assuming that's who it is. I don't know if it's officially, but yeah, the character Greg shot is like following you out. It's like, I don't think so. Climbs up the elevator and like grabs May, like to drag her back down. And there's this dramatic sequence where it's dark. You can barely make it out. May's kicking him in the face. The gang's trying to grab you. And Angus is like, I'll just activate the elevator, pulls the lever, and this thing drops. And this dude's body's halfway in and out of the elevator and just head cleaved right off. And it's just like, it's stuck. Everything's like trying to move and it's jammed because there's a human, an animal body in this thing. No idea what to do. Eventually it just all falls and the cave, like it all caves in. This is where I'm like, that head cut off. We're about to find out who it is, like who this guy is. That's just, it's a beat we skip. Nothing happens. I think everyone's just too taken aback what happens. We don't even look at his head. Or if we have seen it, like the characters know, but the players don't. But it was holy crap. That my heart skipped a beat the moment like the light flashes and the guy grabs you. I'm like, and I'm spamming the button to like kick him off of me. Damn, dude. That shit was scary.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But for me, you have to find another way out. There's another moment where you're like kind of wading through the water and you fall into a hole, but you go through another one of these like godly like conversation with like, oh, who are you? What's going on here? I just want to be comfortable. I forget I didn't write any notes on that one. I forget what the important conversation points were for that moment in particular, but you eventually get out, you walk out, you find a well, man has enough energy to climb out, and you're in Germ's backyard. He's like, yeah, hey, what you doing? This is my well. What are you doing out here? He's like, hey, can we just get a rope and you climb everybody out, go home, reflect on what happened. So then be like, we left a bunch of guys down there dead. Like,
yeah,
they're all dead. They got caved in. They can't get out unless they found the way out that we did. But that was at the bottom, at the top of the elevator. So there was no way to get up.
Nope.
So, that whole
especially because like when you get out of the well, you ask if there's a way to like close it down.
Right.
And then Germ says, "Oh, I've got dynamite."
Okay,
fine.
All right. Let's just do that. So, yeah, they're dead.
Yeah,
presumably. They might be eating each other down there, but they can't last forever. But yeah, it's like really twisted because now like our heroes have, and Greg's all about like crimes. Let's do crimes, but you've killed like I'm gonna say upwards of like 20 people probably down there.
Yeah,
like that's crazy.
I love how they have like the same conversation themselves, the characters.
Yeah.
And they're like, did we just kill those people? And I think it's Angus who's like, I'd do it again.
Yeah. Angus from the corner
is killed like, people.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was like, and again, I was ready for Narc Ant to be like, I know what you did down there. Like I was so ready for it and it didn't happen. So maybe she's not a narc, but I still don't believe she's innocent. I think she's a crazy cop, but, you go back home. This is kind of where like the epilogue kicks in. You're having this, couple days later, reflecting on the whole thing. You go to band practice. You and B have another like heartfelt conversation about your friendship, being stuck in this town, what your friends around you are going to do, and everything else. And ultimately, that's where the game just rolls credits and says, "Hey, thanks for playing." I'm like, "Fuck, damn it, man."
I don't know if you noticed, but like the final time that you walk into town,
okay,
there's certain people who are usually there that are not there anymore.
Yes, you're right. The only one that I took like extreme notice to is there's this couple of old men outside of the bar. They're always standing there talking, and the one on the right was gone. That was the only one I took like, I'm like, ooh, he was one of them. He was one of them. And I forget how it falls. And going back, I think the first time you see the cult members, right? They chase you, whatever, you're walking through town. There's like a group of like 4 old men who are always just like, well, the company can't do this. And we didn't get enough lumber this week. So those 4 were missing at one point. And I'm like, all 4 of them are in there. They have to be. And I forget if they show back up at the end or if any of them do.
I think you see them in the epilogue.
All of them?
Yeah.
Damn. One of them, they escaped. They escaped. I still don't trust them. There's no way 4 men in flannels talking about wood aren't Republicans. But no, yeah, that was like, no, you're right. I didn't take notice to any other important characters, but definitely the 2 outside of the bar, whereas like the bird guy, and I think it was like a bear or something else, that bear one was missing. And I'm like, ooh, noted. I got that one. But yeah, it's the only one I noticed. I don't know if there are any other ones you're like, oh, this guy was missing. That's where the teacher was. That's why I couldn't watch the stars.
No, he's up on his roof in the epilogue, so he's not one of them.
He is.
I don't recall like standout characters that went missing. Okay. It's mostly the one at the bar as well that I noticed.
Fair enough. Little bar man. Rest in peace, guy. Yeah. Well, maybe not. You're a bad guy. Yeah, no, that's where the game kind of it sounds off. That's where it ends. You're kind of left with some thoughts of like, what happens next? Where's everyone going? I'm assuming, Greg and Angus still stick together and do their thing. But in this, Bia has a conversation with you, totally transparent. She's like, I'll be honest, they're high school sweethearts. They found another gay person in their life, said, I'm here. This is the couple we are. And as they're both growing, I think they'll find out, like, she says point blank, like, Angus can do better. I'm like, oh shit. Damn. Sorry, Greg. So there's like the prediction of like, they won't stick it out. They may move into a place, but the expectation that they'll break up set up by B is just like, yeah, they're not gonna get much farther than they are right now. Once they're living, doing their thing, they've accomplished their goal, air quotes, it'll crumble. And I'm like, shit, damn, B, gash your friends up a little bit.
I don't believe that. I believe in Greg and Angus.
I do too. I hope so. I don't know what it was the other day we brought up on stream, I'm just like, as a comfortably heterosexual man, I don't know what it is, but I love watching gay couples find each other. Like in games, we had like Angus and Greg. We're talking about like a Max and Chloe type deal. I'm sure there's any other combination. I'm like, oh my God, they're so cute together. I don't know. Just like gay relationships are so exciting. They just every time they're so happy for them. Don't ruin this, Greg. Don't ruin this.
Don't put all the pressure on Greg.
Angus can't be the problem. Angus is not the problem. It's Greg.
Greg rules, okay?
Greg does rule, but
thank you.
Angus rules more. I don't know.
Shame.
Sorry, that's what we're doing. But yeah, that's the end for Night in the Woods. What else we had here? I guess we already kind of talked about the capitalism. I don't know if you want to add anything else to hear what you have on your notes. I know you have that there too.
No, I think I said everything I wanted to say about that. I can maybe mention why I relate to May even more than just through the whole depression thing.
Yeah, go for it, because I also have a similar thing with that.
The whole thing with May is that she should be a grown-up, and she isn't, and she feels stuck in that way, and that she's not an adult, but she's not a kid anymore either. She's like stuck between both worlds, and I have struggled with that same issue for the longest time. I mean, I'm nearly 40 and I still struggle with it somewhat. Because becoming an adult brings expectations, and I struggle to like live up to those expectations. So yeah, that's why May is in my heart. May is in my heart.
Yeah, I think I relate very similarly. I put relating to that feeling behind, right? I don't know if she ever directly says like everyone's ahead of me, but it's heavily implied the entire time, where you have this first interaction like, what do we want to do tonight? She's like, we all got to go to bed for work tomorrow. And like I remember even in college being like, I was still super dependent on my parents to do any and everything. I'm like, I got this bill to pay, or electric bill was too high, and like I don't get paid enough at GameStop to cover it, and et cetera, et cetera. Like, but seeing some of my other friends be able to like not live comfortably, but like take care of themselves. And like, even now as I'm seeing friends get married, have kids, move into houses, I'm like, how the fuck are you doing this? How are you getting any of this shit done? Cause that's crazy. But yeah, seeing those moments of May feeling behind from the rest of her friends who are getting ready to move out of town or run their own business with an asterisk on it, you know, like that's the crazy. I'm like, I felt that on like a super personal level where I'm like, fuck, I get you, May. I've been there. And I wish like one day everything would just snap together, but life's hard. There's just so much shit to do on a daily basis. And like the amount of fear I get every day from like, I get a letter in the mail that's just like, by the way, life insurance, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, what am I going to screw up with this? That one day I'm going to get a knock on the door like, you didn't sign subsection elemental P, jail time. Like life's crazy and I hate it. I hate it so much, but like, yeah, so
I feel you.
I think seeing TikTok now where I'm like, oh, cool, I'm not the only one who just doesn't get anything by the time they're 30. Like, this life doesn't make sense. I'm just going to walk in somewhere and they're like, oh, yeah, you're fucked up. Sorry, you didn't sign this thing 10 years ago, so sign it now.
You know, and another thing about the game that really stood out to me was how it plays with nostalgia.
Yeah.
It really, like, there's the nostalgia for the way the town used to be when it was still like very successful, and they try to keep like that side of the town alive with like these murals that they paint on the walls. There's all kinds of stuff. The theater where Mabe takes the lead role all just to keep this image alive of this successful town that it hasn't been in like years.
Right.
But then there's also May, who's like nostalgic for something that she knows to be real, something that she knows to exist, and that's her friends, her family. But she comes home, and none of them are the same people as they were when she left. And I think it's a really interesting look at a phenomenon that's being monetized heavily recently.
Yeah.
Like nostalgia is everywhere now, but nostalgia isn't always the best thing.
Man, what a time to feel. This and I'm playing another game and I'm just like, man, can I play something happy here? Can I play something exciting? Can I not feel reality for a minute? Yeah, I think with that's kind of our thoughts on Night in the Woods. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I can't say enough how like I enjoyed this game, but I can't necessarily say it was fun, just with themes and having to live through some of the more like depressing and struggle filled like themes, or like that's a lot to unpack. And like I can't walk away and be like, guys, you got to check out this game. It's so exciting. Like that's life. That's what that is. But yeah, it was. Did
you appreciate the humor in it?
I did,
because
yeah.
I think this is a really funny game in a very depressed kind of way. It's extremely funny.
Yeah, I as I sit here, I'm like, I can't think of a single moment where I'm like, oh yeah, they said this one thing, or this was a funny exchange of dialogue. But I can guarantee there are moments on stream where I'm reading the dialogue. I'm like, did she just say that? What is she talking about? Probably somewhere in the conversation with Dad. Every night you come home and you're like, hey Dad, what's going on? He's like, oh, I hate the deli. Like, yeah, same. You know what I mean? Like, or some random encounter like that. I'm sure I've chuckled at and will like come back to me at some point. But yeah, it was funny. I like funny stuff.
Yeah, I get it. It's a pretty depressing game.
Yeah. Like
the thing for me that hit me hardest is a tiny detail. Because when you get drunk at the first party you go to.
Oh right, yeah, we can skip that and talk about it.
Yeah. It's possible that it gets mentioned that your dad doesn't drink anymore because he was a danger to his wife and child.
Yeah.
And that's like, Jesus Christ.
I forgot about that part.
Fuck.
Shit.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. I try to impress your like ex from high school, and you're like, oh, he's gonna be there. You like drinking to get the courage to go talk to him, and then you're just doing the whole stand up and talking about, I'm a fuck up, and my dad did this, and and then just vomit in front of everyone. That's when B drives you home, and you're having the conversation. I'm like, yeah, my mom's dead, jackass. Like that's where that all takes place. Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering what they'll do that. I'm like, I forgot about the forest party. That's crazy. Yeah. But like every time you do something like that, your mom will acknowledge like, hey, you look like a mess. Like, yeah. But you continue to be like, I don't want to talk about it. Like you're kind of, she's like, it's something happened. I just got drunk. I don't want to talk about school. And even like as you play, like I still don't think you have that conversation. But I think in the epilogue you establish that you are. Like you talk to mom, hey, we went through these things. When I get home tonight, let's talk about our stuff. You meet dad outside. He's like, I hate the job and we got to do it to keep the house. Like, we could talk about your problems too. Like we're not talking about mine. So might as well just have like a big old meeting. And I think mom's like, we're making something special. And dad's like, ooh, I love those. Let's do it. So you know, like
breakfast for dinner.
Breakfast for dinner. That's what it was. Breakfast for dinner. Yeah, you have that moment, that conversation of like, cool, we are going to establish like what's wrong and hopefully recover from that, or at least take steps to. So yeah, and leave all the dead people in the well. That's it.
I mean, it's kind of their own fault.
It is, and that's what they get.
Yeah,
I'm assuming they had said they killed like dozens, right? So I'm like, you gotta just trade one per. I think we're about even. Stop killing people.
It's just karma.
Karma, indeed. However, before we move on from anything else, I know I'd put it out there a couple times that if you guys have played this game, watched this game, had any thoughts on Night in the Wood, you could write in. It seems like Phantom was the one that felt the most impacted, so she wrote us a little bit of a novelization here on her thoughts. I'd put on the Google form like book club prompt, what are your thoughts on Night in the Woods? You can say as much as you like about the story, the gameplay, how it made you feel, whatever you'd like. Phantom writes in with, forgive me here, I'm going to butcher this a couple times, but we got this. Night in the Woods is a game that caught my attention way back when I was an avid watcher of Jacksepticeye. His content was very different back then, and I was drawn to the game based on its title art. I didn't expect to be as amazed by the game as I was. For one, I had never really heard of indie games before. This was probably my first exposure to such a genre. On top of this, the game is so uniquely stylized, I have yet to find another game with the same vibe/feeling to Night in the Woods. The art style fits the story's sense of mystery, nostalgia, and self-discovery. The best way I can describe Night in the Woods is the indie world's version of Life is Strange. Pretty much. We argue if Life is Strange is indie, but yeah, we'll stand it. We stand Life is Strange. It seamlessly writes in queer representation, complex character relationships, a town at risk, and a main character that is both mischievous and somewhat out of place. On top of this, Night in the Woods has levels of details to it that make it fun to investigate and explore. For instance, the characters are written in a way that matches their designated species. May is curious, sharp-tongued, witty yet loyal like many cats. B is gloomy but smart, flying under the radar as most crocodiles/alligators do. Despite this, she's intelligent, prefers to watch people more than to interact with them. Greg, who I believe is a dingo, is energetic, spastic, excitable, and dependable. Like most dogs, he loves the people that he loves without exception. And then there's Greg's boyfriend, Angus, a quiet, lovable, self-sufficient bear. He too keeps to himself, is soft-spoken, and doesn't bother unless bothered first. It's amazing to me that Night in the Woods can capture unique characters while having them influenced by their designated species. This interaction of character/species adds a deeper level to the game as well. There has been another game I've seen/played that comes even close to this seamless blending of character and species. Overall, I have nothing but good things to say about Night in the Woods. It has a special place in my heart for my first ever indie game exposure to story-driven games, exposure to queer representation in media. To anyone who hasn't seen this game, you're missing out. Thank you, Phantom. Thank you so much for writing in. I appreciate it. What we kind of want from like the book club part, right, is we're playing both older games, so there's a chance that someone's already played it. They have a chance, like I've been wanting to replay this and I have that opportunity, or I've never played this game, which in a lot of cases for me, like I haven't played Night in the Woods. Our next game I haven't played yet either. And I'm like, I'm excited to get around to playing this so I can experience it. And then anyone else who has experience or will be experienced for the first time has a platform for them to also be like, hey, I played this game along with you. Here's how I felt. So it was first book club. It was hard to expect anyone to like write in novels like Phantom did. So Phantom, greatly appreciate you writing in for the show for that. I agree with it. Yeah. I remember I'm not always the biggest Jacksepticeye watcher. I'll catch him every now and again just for a few here, but I know Jack introduced me to Journey to the Savage Planet, which I loved. So Jack out there being the real one. We appreciate you, Jack. However, with that, unless you have anything else to say on Night in the Woods before we move on.
I just think that Phantom put that really eloquently, and I'm kind of jealous. I wish I was that eloquent.
Phantom's a smart one. She out there. She's smart. She's doing out there. She's thinking. That's why she a mod. And Phantom, if you're listening, I can't stand you anymore. I'm just kidding. You love your kid. Now, we decided we'll do a thing where we plan our next month's book club. And currently the doctor says next month's book club game is ... And so we talked a little bit last week about like what game we should pick. I said, if you had any suggestions, you're like, I picked Night in the Woods. How about you pick the next one? And I was like, I just spun my wheel of shame. And I'm like, here's a game I haven't played. But also in the last couple of days, people in chat have been asking about another game that I absolutely love. And I was tempted to do that one. But I think what I should do is save that for later and do the one that I haven't played yet. So the game that I'm picking for next month is Kentucky Route Zero. Which I've not played, is on my wheel. I just spun it from a wheel of shame. We talked a little bit and I was just like, or you were like, I don't think it's a great stream game. I don't think people love watching it. And I think watching the trailer, I'm like, I think I agree. I think this will be one where no one's really hanging out in chat. No one's really invested, but they want that story. So I'm excited to check it out regardless. So I guess if all things add up accordingly, this would be our August 27th episode. Okay. So August 27th would be us talking about Kentucky Route Zero. I'm excited for this to be the first time I'm playing it. I think I saw 5 chapters, takes about 8-ish hours to beat. So if you haven't played it yet, I think it's also on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, you can play it on your phone. So do that. But yeah, you got a whole month to play an 8-hour game. So if you want to jump in Kentucky Route Zero, be in the conversation, write in like Phantom did for this episode, you can do that.
And don't be a Tofr and wait until the final days of the month to actually play.
Listen. Don't be a Tofr or a Danny, because like I know I started early, but I kind of drug. I'll take the excuse. It's a busy month. I'm playing other games.
It's a busy month.
I got a lot of review codes. You know how many times I've had to say redacted this month? A lot. But yeah, if you've played Kentucky Route Zero, maybe want to refresh on it, or playing for the first time, feel free. You could write in using the form in the description. I'll have that updated closer to the actual episode date, so you can have that there. But for now, get play that game. Mm-hmm. I haven't said this whole episode. Timestamp.
Oh wow, that's still a thing.
Oh, but with that, I think it's time we talk about what we've been playing. I know I have 2 on there. I don't want to say a lot about the second one because there'll be a separate podcast for that. But I gotta know. Tell me about Ooblets, Tofr. Tell me about this Ooblets experience.
I returned to Ooblets.
Okay.
I think I own it on 4 different platforms now.
God damn, I didn't even know it was on 4 different platforms yet.
Yeah, and it's so much fun. Yeah. It's like this really twee kind of. It's a farming sim, but it's also a monster collector. But it's also it's also a card game. It's like all of the things that I like combined. It's like you can grow, as people who are watching can see, you can grow your own monsters, and they do dance battles with each other.
Dance battles, baby.
Yeah, and those dance battles play out as a card game. So it's just so much fun. The soundtrack is really, really good. The characters are all like, it's all a bit adorkable.
Oh,
I think that's the word. Yeah, it's all a bit adorable. For example, there's a building that's supposed to be like a kind of laboratory.
Okay.
And it's called a learnery. And every building has and every item has like a different name that's similar to what we know, but it's something different.
Yeah.
And like an espresso is espressi. They all make it. They all make it adorable, as I said.
Yeah.
And it's just such a fun time. Like, I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just that good. You should play it.
It's one I have to get to. I remember I bought it on like early access launch. I think it was on Epic Game Store, and I had it downloaded for the longest time and just never got around to like jumping in and playing it with whatever else I was playing, getting locked into something else. So I was like, I want to check this out, and I just haven't yet. And now I think it's on Switch. I think it's on Steam. I forget what the whole thing was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so infatuated with how this game looks. This seems like one of those like banner cozy indie games where you're like, can you give me a cozy game like Ooblets? Check out Ooblets. I haven't played, but I know it looks great. And like,
absolutely,
one of these days, maybe next month's book club, we'll replace Kentucky Route Zero. But
listen, there's a bird. One of the monsters that you can train is a bird with a receding hairline.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Hell yeah. We love it. We can feel emotionally attached to a bird. I feel you, dog. That's why the beanie's on all the time. I get a bird. I get a bird. I get it. That's so great. I love it. I'm hard to say invested in a game I haven't touched, but like, yeah, Ooblets looks so great. It's one that I've seen so many people fall in love with. One of these days, the FOMO will kick in. I'm like, all right, today's the day. Launch some Ooblets.
Just know that you will sink some hours into it.
I'm ready. Do you know how many hours you sunk into it?
I'm afraid to look.
Are you playing it on Steam?
Now I have it on Steam, but I only just started my Steam playthrough, and I'm only at a couple of hours in.
Okay.
But I played it on Switch for a bit more than that.
At least an hour. At least. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, guys, check out Ooblets. It's on a lot of places. It's good looking game. Now, Tofr.
Tell me.
Let me tell you. It's been a busy week. It's been a busy month for Danny. We've covered this a couple times this episode. Last week, we got Dungeons of Hinterberg. And Tofr, I'm fucking enthralled. I am fucking invested. I don't want to put this game down. I have so much shit I have to do tonight, but all I want to do is play Dungeons of Hinterberg. I'm so close to the end. I have 19 of the 25 dungeons done. I'm that close to the end, and I want to keep going. But I am having so much fun with Dungeons of Hinterberg. I see Medic in the chat. Medic's finished the game already. They've been like, Danny, you got this. Make sure if you talk to this person, they'll give you this. I'm like, cool, appreciate you. I said this last night on stream, and I always want to put like an asterisk next to it for recency bias. And I know a couple weeks ago I was like, oh my god, I feel so bad. I forgot the name of the game. Odd Sparks. No. I was like, Odd Sparks. Oh, yes. Game of the Year contender is up there. And I'm going to replace this and say the same thing with Dungeons of Hinterberg. I am so infatuated with this game. So far, I've done most of my playthrough on stream. We've done 3 streams so far of it. In between, I'll do a couple dungeons, level up, meet with people. For anyone who has no idea about Dungeons of Hinterberg, essentially, you are playing as Louisa. You are going out to Hinterberg in the Alps to kind of like get on your vacation. You're like, I've been working too hard. You are a lawyer, or at least a pre-law. Yo, thank you so much. I don't want to play myself. My apologies. Cup of Play, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you. I didn't know I had those alerts on. Sorry. Yeah, you are playing as Louisa going on vacation, and what the whole deal is while you're in Hinterberg, there are 25 dungeons that really bring in tourism. People are coming in, they want to go on these adventures, escape, do something new with themselves. And as you go to explore all these dungeons, if you complete them all, it'll like, it's a big goal. No one's ever completed all the dungeons. Okay. Sorry for any videos you see 2 of me, because again, Twitch footage. Sorry, that was a broken up statement while I'm trying to pull up the stream. But as you go through the 4 different major areas, each one has a different subsection of tools. So the first area, you've got a bomb, and you've got like a grappling hook. It's like a mace on the end, so you can use that. You get to the next area, there is, I might be misremembering the order, but there's a tornado, and there's like a wind ball. You use that wind ball to grab an item and then chuck it. Another area, you can lift up blocks with like a giant jelly block, very like Breath of the Wild. So all these different tools can go in different places. The snow biome has a snowboard. So like as you go to these different places, you have a different kit to solve the different puzzles. Every dungeon's filled with, whether they're like you can see on the screen here, you're changing tracks. So you can get like a blocking yourself to the right locations. There's ones where the whole perspective changes. There's ones that are very like Diablo-esque. They have this top-down isometric view while you're fighting. One that's like a very Mario Galaxy-esque thing where the world is turning and flipping as you're flipping switches. And I love how different each of the dungeons feel. Even the ones that feel similar still feel so different from each other. Okay. And then each day is set up into 4 parts. It might be 5 parts. There's morning, noon, afternoon, evening, and night. So the morning, you're getting up, you're talking to someone like, where do you want to go? You go out, you pick your spot. Your afternoon is spent going to a dungeon. When you get home for the evening, you spend that with an individual. You can go talk to anybody in Hinterberg. You can spend the night with them. Not in that kind of way. You want to go to the club. You want to go out and on a boat ride or something like that. You want to talk to grandma who's like, I think I'm a little old for this town. I'm about to move out, but she might be a sugar mama type deal. All these different characters, and you'll spend the evening with them, increasing your relationship, very Persona-esque in that way. And each tier you increase your relationship with them, you get new items. Sometimes there's a new special attacks. Sometimes that's armor. As I'm progressing, I'm getting legendary armor from some of these characters. Medic in the chat, Sugar Mama Gertrude. Yep, she out there. And I'm in a spot now where I'm so close to the end, I'm kind of going out, getting a couple chests, finding a scenic spot. These scenic spots will increase your overall health. If you see on the screen, I have like the second bar now of health. I have so much. But damn, every single action I take in this game is just so much fun. Like I haven't had a lull where I'm like, I'm bored of this. I don't want to do this. I had a couple puzzles where I got a little bit trapped. Where I'm like, I'm not sure where to go. I'm not sure if I'm going the right way. I also blame that to streaming where I'm like talking to chat. I'm like, oh, sorry guys, hold on, give me a minute. I think I overlooked something or I didn't look at this. And I'm like, wait, stop. Don't talk to me. I still got to figure out this puzzle. But I seeing how close I am to the end, I don't want it to stop. I know when I'm done with the craziness I have this week of getting this next review and more games for the podcast, et cetera, when that is done, I am full send on Dungeons of Hinterberg to knock it out and have it done. But I don't want it to end. I am having such a blast with this game.
That's some serious praise.
It's great. It's great. I know we were both talking about it. We both played the playtest. I don't think, have you gotten into the full release at all yet or still sitting on the backlog?
Not yet. I still have a couple of things I have to play first.
Sure. For sure. Redacted, of course.
Yeah.
But damn, man. Yeah, I can sit here like as I sit here watching my footage back, I'm like, do I start over? Should I start over and do a new run? And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But I do think about like the way I pace something. I don't know what I was talking about here. I'm just like full screen talking at my chat. But I had said, I think yesterday on stream, like I don't see myself like 100%ing this on Steam. I just don't do Steam achievements like that. I'll complete the game. I might try and get like everybody's relationship up just so I can get all the items and see what it's about. I still have like maybe 2 characters I haven't really interacted with like at all. So they're still really base level.
Okay.
But if this gets a PlayStation release, platinum indeed. I should probably look at the achievements before I lock into that and see if there's one like beat the whole game without dying. I'm like, oh, I'm going to hate that. But I find it hard to believe if the trophy list is attainable that I don't get the platinum on PlayStation. Like I'll sink my teeth in this all over again.
Oh, damn.
It's so fun.
And is this like, does this have like the same replayability like a Breath of the Wild?
I think for some it will. I think for most it won't. I think it's a very linear story where like you still have the open world aspect of choosing where you want to go. For example, when you start to like, hey, you are a level 1 Slayer. You can go to these level 1 dungeons. And as you level up and get more armor, increase your stats, increase relationships to get new items. There's her name is Hannah. She runs like the sword shop. You can go to her place, put charms on your sword, or I think equipment on your sword. Charms are for you. And those will increase your damage. And as you increase that number, you'll reach the threshold of like, cool, you are now level 2 Slayer. These areas are now catered for you. They fit that level. You'll find some of those places like early in the first year. I think you can find a level 5 dungeon. You're like, you're not ready for that. Don't go in that door. You don't want to do that. But I think I didn't try, but I assume you can. You can go and try. You will die over and over and over again and maybe struggle to do it. Medic, I've not tried. You might be able to confirm if they even let you in. But yeah, you'll reach the point where, cool, I've leveled up and I talked to this guy. I got his cool sword. Now I have a sword that does way more damage. I am now a level 5 hunter, a level 8 hunter. It goes all the way up to at least level 9. I don't know if level 10 is like a factor, but it seems like level 9 is like the highest dungeon. So it is like you can kind of choose what order you want to do it. If I was to start over, I think what I would do is change the pacing I went with interactions. I think I picked a guy, I stuck with him, and then I kind of space out and pick different characters to interact with, where if I had focused solely on like the dog character, who once you get him to max level, he increases the rarity of items you get. So whenever you find an item, it's going to be worth more. So you can go and sell that or trade that in or do whatever and get more money early so you can buy better stuff early, level up faster. Or Alex, who I think is very like tethered to like the narrative. When you max her out, she increases how fast you level up with other people. So like all these relationships, I can kind of space those out and be like, cool, let me focus these ones. Then I can knock out a Danny and a Ruban, I think is how you pronounce it, or Sam, or all these other characters and level them up faster. Some of them have deeper narratives. Like Sam was like a nerd in high school and everyone made fun of him, but now he's like a big ripped adventurer. But during an interview, someone pulls out a picture like, hey, was this you? He's like, no. That's interview over. That's not me. And when you talk to him, he's like, I was the fat kid. People made fun of me. And like, now I'm this. And like, I don't want to go back to that. And like, you have the option to be like, hey, I know like you feel that way. And it's like intrusive on like where you were as a kid. But think about how many other kids in school now that like can look up to you, be like, I see where Sam was at. And I could do that. I can see where I can be, not just because I'm a jock. Life's written out for me. So like, there's some deep conversations with some of the people, which I really enjoyed. And I still haven't finished a lot of the social interactions, but I'm going to. I'm going to.
No, I'm glad to hear that the social aspect is like that well developed.
Yeah,
because from the demo, I didn't really get that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a demo a lot when you get that first interaction, you'll like level up one, like you got a new friend, like it's nothing crazy. And then that's like roll credits. Thanks for playing. Like you don't get to experience a lot. The demos and playtests definitely showcase more of the dungeons than the social interactions. But yeah, being that every day is like you have that tailored moment to do those things with those people, like it's meant to happen. Let me see. Medic said you're definitely able to do them at any level, but some areas are blocked off until a certain day or dungeon. Right. Yeah. So that's right. Some of the dungeons are like quest based. So it's like once you have a relationship with this person, they'll be like, I don't know if you heard, but there's like a dungeon upstairs that like it's hidden behind a thing.
Okay.
I had that conversation last night with a character. She's like, there's a hidden dungeon. Do you know about it? I'm like, no, I don't. She's like, do you want to know? And I messed up because when she said, do you want to know? I thought she asked like, do you know where it is? I'm like, no, I don't. She's like, all right, I won't tell you. I'm like, no, I screwed up. I fast forward through the conversation, reload my save. So she's like, okay, when you go in, take a right, go up here. I'm like, thank you. I almost missed where that was. That was crazy. But, fuck. I want to procrastinate tonight. I want to play Dungeons of Hinterberg, man. I'm having a blast. I'm enjoying it so much. Like I said, game of the year contender for me. I want that window of like, let me get away from it. Let me not be on the high of enjoying it so much and see what else I've played, where I drop it on the list. But like, I will be utterly shocked if this is not at least in my top 10 by the end of the year. I would say at least in my top 5. I think it's gonna be my top 5.
Ooh, wow.
I'm excited.
Well, it's not gonna beat Balatro, is it?
Well, in terms of hours, might not. But we'll see. Balatro's, oh man, Balatro's really good. Damn. But yeah, Dungeons of Hinterberg, play it. I have another one on here that I won't talk too much about because it'll be on another upcoming podcast. I don't know if it's a secret, but sorry, Dave, if it is. I've been playing a Space for the Unbound. I'll be on the Tales from the Backlog podcast as of the stream tomorrow night. We're doing the recording. I'm not sure when the episode drops. If that was a secret, Dave, don't tell your fans about this episode, okay? Don't tell them. But I'll be on that. Basically, we're playing through a game we haven't played before. I'm playing through a Space for the Unbound. If you're not familiar with it, it is essentially this like anime style. I hesitate to say point and click, but it's point and click tendencies, but a very like 2D narrative type game. Or basically the whole premise is you're along with a character who's trying to write her own story, and you're kind of guiding her on like, hey, you should do this, you should try this, da 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 da. Some magical stuff in takes place. You are kind of helping guide the narrative, like, hey, you should go do this, or hey, we're a friend, we should build this bucket list, and by the end of our lives we want to get all these things done. Meanwhile, you're in high school, like we're about to move on, like what do we have to do for our careers, what are we going to end up like picking, but like you're a kid, you have no clue what you're going to pick, how many adults even know what they want to do, and blah 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 blah. So it's really heartfelt. I've had a couple moments where I like jaw dropped. I'm like, did they just do that? Did that just happen? Oh my god. It's really fun. It is a lot of exploring. Like it's a lot of backtracking too, where you pop in. They're like, all right, the cat's stuck in the tree because the dog's chasing it. We got to get this dog out of here. You go outside. The owner's like, oh, my dog, we lost his favorite toy. And now he's just all antsy. I don't know what to do. You're like, where's the favorite toy? You walk down the street. The neighborhood bully's got the toy. He's like, hey, what's up, punk? You want this toy? Go get me a cigar. And you're like, oh, wait. The shopkeeper was like, oh, I got a cigar. Do you want it? You're like, thanks. I don't smoke. But now you go get the cigar. You buy it, whatever, with the money you raise, go over, give it to the guy. He gives you the toy, but he's still like, you're a little punk bitch. And then he's like, ooh, I hate cigars. But then you take the cigar, get the toy, take the toy, get the dog, save the cat. Like it's that chain events of doing those kind of things. Like very like classic humongous in the way of like a putt-putt or a Spy Fox type deal. Freddy Fazbear, Freddy Fish. Yeah, I'm not quite done with it yet. Hopefully after this is all said and done and I get some other stuff done, I can knock that out. Yeah, and I went the wrong screen. I went full screen. Sorry, I cut you out of the scene there. My apologies, friend.
It's fine. No, it's fine. I get it. I
finish this podcast on my own. But I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, we're gonna have deeper conversations, spoiler-filled conversations on Tales from the Backlog. I'm not sure when the episode drops, but I will be sure to plug it for you guys whenever that comes out, so you can go watch that and hear me and Dave talk about it. But it's a good time. I'm enjoying it so far. Again, one where I pumped the brakes where I just said it's a good time, where I'm like, it's kind of sad. It's not really a good time, but the game is enjoyable. Let me suffice it to that. I don't want anyone to go and be like, I'll be so happy, and then see something crazy happen. Like, why did this happen? Danny didn't say this was going to happen. But, yeah. I know you said you started that one, right? Or at least.
Yeah, I did. I played it when it first released.
Okay.
But then I ended up at like these couple of people who wanted me to answer some questions about the history of the country, and I had information like way back in my gameplay, and I couldn't remember it, but I didn't want to Google it, and then I stopped playing, and I never got around.
I'll tell you, I Googled it instantly. I said, the first question they asked, I'm like, I have no clue what the answer to this is. So I Googled the actual question. I'm like, what is the year of the something, something, something? And I'm like, cool, I got it. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I was like, I've done this for Persona. And I just Googled space for the Unbound quiz answers. And they're just like, A, B, C. I'm like, cool, got it. Thank you. And then moved on. Yeah, that was a weird one because like the second question, I'm like, oh, I do know the answer for that. I remember talking to someone. That makes sense. I just locked that one in. But the third one, I was like, oh, I don't know where I found that info. I'm not sure where I would have seen that. Oh, no, never mind. The third one's a goofy question. Never mind. But yeah, the first one, I'm like, I have no idea where I found that. The second one, I'm like, I remember talking about this. And the third one's just like, how about this restaurant? And it's just like, do you like it or do you not like it? And if you like it, like, yeah, I agree. Let's go. And then you can get the stuff you need. Like, it's a very simple thing.
Okay.
But I also think, like, again, this isn't like a pressure Tofr to get back into the game. I would recommend it. I'm loving it. But yeah, I think if you like, it's a very like, I would find it hard to not be able to get back into it. Like, it's not a difficult gameplay system. It's very simple. It's basically just walking left and right and interacting with people. I think if you had the time and you want to jump back in now, knock out that quiz, you could probably just fall back in love with it and see some of the crazy stuff.
It's on my list, but let me show you. Look, this is my list of games that wasn't released in 2024. Like, I have a separate list for like this year's releases.
Yeah. Shit, that's crazy. That's a wild. Holy crap. Well, damn. Space of the Unbound. It's really cool. Listen, if in the future we end up wanting to do that for a book club, I think that'd be great. I'll just steal everything I said on fucking Dave's podcast and repeat it. That is a long ass list. That we're gonna need an episode where we just go down the list of like, these are the games Tofr hasn't played.
I can do that. I can do that.
I was making a full screen for you. I'm like, all right, guys, enjoy. Tofr's gonna read you a list. See it. But that's what we've been playing. A timestamp. Now on to the indie releases this week. I gotta tell you, a list of a lot of games. You know, never mind. As I read, I know more of them. This are the releases between July 25th. Again, we're live on Twitch today, so I can't say today, but today for Thursday, if you're watching this on the YouTube, on July 25th for PC and VR. Did we get any specificity on VR? Is that just any VR, Meta, Oculus, anything? We have Thrasher. No idea. Coming to VR for you. Following up, we have A Ranger, a role-puzzling adventure, dropping on July 25th for Steam, Switch, and PlayStation. If you haven't seen yet, I did a review of that over on youtube.com/CGDannyB. Dropped a couple days ago. Short 7-minute video. If you want to pop that up, see what I thought, maybe leave a like and a comment about how cool I am and stuff like that. Would appreciate it. Would be great.
Smooth indeed.
After that, we've got Hiro Kato, the Delivery Hero, dropping on July 25th for PC. I'm going to elongate this sentence real quick just for the sake of the conversation. I'm just looking at an email.
Just keep going.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, that game comes out on July 25th on PC. Then there's Hannah's Day, also dropping on July 25th for PC. I do not know what Hannah's Day is. Do you know what Hannah's Day is?
It's a game I like. It's all over Twitter for some reason. Yeah, that's all I know about it.
Let's see. Hannah's Day. Oh. This has like Barbie. Oh, I've seen this. Hold on. I've seen this. This has like a Barbie movie energy, or like any of those mobile games where like it's the mom with the daughter and like, we can't, you got to move the pipes and you end up freezing their water and stuff. I'm sure everyone's seen them. I guess you play as this really thick woman on a skateboard and you solve puzzles. So that's Hannah. It's
Hannah's Day.
Yeah, it's Hannah's Day. That's cool. It looks pretty. I like the visuals of it. Yeah, it drops in July 25th. Oh, and there's a demo. If you want to check out the demo, you can see it now. Pixar Mom the game? Very much so. Very much so. Next up, we've got Dread Wait dropping on July 29th for PC. We have Superliminal on July 30th making its way to mobile. That's a great one. If you haven't played Superliminal, would recommend. Really fun puzzle game. After that, we have The Garden Path dropping on July 30th for Switch and PC. We have Minds Beneath Us dropping on July 31st for PC. And then Dawnmaker dropping back up to July 25th for PC. Come on, Tofr.
Sorry, my bad.
Why don't you make the document fucked up the dates?
Oh my god.
You know how unprofessional this looks?
I know.
Nah, we chilling. Anyway, there's just a reminder at the end of the month to go back to the 25th and play that one.
Let me check if that's the correct date, because it might be that I just
Ooh.
wrote the wrong date.
Chat, we're about to find out. Which one's Dawnmaker, though? I looked that up because I remember looking at that one.
It's July 31st.
July 31st. Okay, guys. So just remember, Tofr cheated. It is one of those like hexagon puzzle game deck builder type deals.
Yeah,
I always love the Call of the Rings. Listen, we get it. You got to throw it on the list. Do what you got to do. But yes, with that, those are some indie games you can play this week. Let us know in the comments which ones you are looking forward to. And timestamp now. Don't forget, you can write into the show and tell us what your favorite indie game is, just like nobody did. We were out of favorite indie games because some of you guys have written in multiple times, which I greatly appreciate. But then you're like, my favorite indie game is the same one I said last time, so I just read the paragraph again. So right now, no favorite indie games. However, if you've already written in before or haven't written in yet, you can use the link in the description of the YouTube video or the Spotify description to write in the show and tell us what you think of the show, ask us your questions, or tell us what your favorite indie game is so we have one for next week. However, with that, I don't even know if I need a timestamp for that because there's nothing to do. But that is the end of our show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this live episode of Night in the Woods, book club or Playlog podcast. I think what our goal is moving forward is each of the book clubs will definitely be live. I think if pacing comes out and it seems like it's worth the time, I wouldn't mind a future where like these are always live. I know a lot of podcast friends will do those, do the live recordings and then everything else. But for now, we're going to pace it with what we can do and time available. So, yeah, good times. Playlog Podcast. If you missed this or missed part of the show and want to catch up on it later, you can find it on Thursday at noon on youtube.com/CGDannyB. Before we wrap up, Tofr, where would the little gnomies find you on the interwebs?
They can find me as Play Nice Kids with either dots or underscores between the words.
Absolutely, you can. And of course, if you enjoyed this content, you want to check out for some more indie gaming goodness, you can subscribe right here on YouTube, follow the show on Spotify, leave that 5-star review. It helps the channel grow. It helps more people find the podcast. And if you're out there looking for a little more coverage, like, man, I just wish Danny and Tofr would play some kind of challenging game together with a couple other creators. Well, you're in luck, because on Saturday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I think that timeline works out, we'll be playing Chained Together. Myself, Tofr, Indie Maniac, and I apologize, I forget the fourth person. I followed them on Twitter, but I do not know the username off the top of my head. I could look it up, but it's there. We're tagged in a post. It's fine. You can find it. We'll be streaming that on Saturday. If you don't know Chained Together, it's basically getting over it with 4 dudes all chained together, and if you fall, you drag everyone down. It looks great. Bread and Fred, but with humans. So that'd be great. We're streaming that on Saturday, so look forward to that. Speaking of which, maybe next week, I know we talked about doing Flock at some point. If you want to try and schedule Flock next week, I think it'd be a fun chill night.
Yeah.
We could talk shop on that. Anyway, that's the extra plugs at the end of the day. Go watch the YouTube stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.